I was drawn to the colour aspect first. I thought it sounded so interesting, intriguing. And being an artist who loves colour, it's always been, and travelling all over, it sort of links to my love of culture and different places
Mm-hmm.
I've did and lived in. So there's a positive side to it. So it was all positive.
That drew you to the program.
Yeah. And yes, there we go about the mental health. I did have issues with not being focused on what I really wanted out of life and needing someone who had an artistic background that could link my process with my art, really. So there is a connection which I'd lost in my life. Yeah, so it was very interesting to find out about being a victim. It all fitted in, everything seemed to slot into place. I knew I was a victim. But it wasn't such a negative thing as the course progressed because I could see the other side of it. And I always have known that, holistically, we're all different characters. And it's not inevitable that you will end up as a victim for the whole of your life. It can happen, and you hear about stories where it does happen.
Yes.
But I think because I've always had a spiritual belief, connection, and an artist, then I had the strength to see beyond that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think exactly the positive intelligence program and coaching help you in identifying, looking at the saboteurs and, learning ways to overcome them or, deal with them? What?
Well, I love the PQs. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're very, very, very interactive, and that's very, very important. People who, especially people like me, who like to engage in life.
Yes. How would you define the PQ for somebody who doesn't know what is a PQ?
It's a very subtle thing. It's not obvious, and it covers all areas, senses, thoughts, conditioning. It goes very deep, unconscious patterns in a very linear way, actually, which is you just feel that you're protected in the
Mhm.
process. So
Yeah. So
good
let
with
us
my
just
mind.
define for people who'd never heard of the PQ what is PQ. There are mini mindfulness exercises that are related to all the senses, and you can use them as tools to disconnect from your anxiety or stress or, whatever is pulling you down in
Yes.
order to shift to your best self or your peace in mind, your sage.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely, I didn't know about this. I mean, the word sage means quite a lot to me anyway, because I
Hmm.
know what it means. But I thought, my gosh, another route in, another
Yeah,
way of finding it,
yeah,
where it is within me and it's within all of us, whatever nationality, whatever culture. So I like the world focused, universal aspect of it.
yes, definitely. And how did you find your connection to the finding the gift in the challenges and your also connection to your child, your empathy power? How did you find that?
That was amazing. It was very much living it in the present. Things just happened, where I was more like an actress when on the stage, and they're all characters that seem to form around me. And
Hmm.
some might say that's a mental illness. To me, that's not.
Yeah.
That's the real world too. People
Hmm.
can change and they can interact and communicate in different ways.
Yes. And
So
you're a very sensitive person. That's why you're an artist, right?
oh dear, open to all worlds. I always have been, and whether that's a weakness or not. My mother didn't encourage that as as something I should be. It's just natural for. I think it is for a lot of children too. So
Mhm.
the children finding my child, and the photograph was quite meaningful because I'd neglected my photographs. I never look at them.
Yes.
And it was just so nice to see it again. I
And
know I
you,
was a beautiful baby.
yes, I saw that. Very beautiful. And thank you for sharing. And how did you find the innovate power and your connection to creativity at the end?
Yes, it's a starting point. I then realized that, you know, I've never been a high achiever in terms of my art, you know, in terms of making a success in a worldly sense. So it's always been, I get that's a hyperachiever aspect that comes in, that I want it,
Mm-hmm.
how I go about it really, and how it needs to be a more kind of aware process, not just expecting things to come.
Yes.
So I think the PQs have helped me. I think that's an area I'm still struggling with
Yeah.
ultimately, and it may determine the direction I go in, actually.
Mhm. Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's not the main focus, but it's definitely luring behind everything, really.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the saboteur assessment, you have actually the hyperachiever a little bit, maybe the third one, or so you have it in yourself like high expectations, but
Yeah.
maybe in terms of going after things and doing them, maybe you the hypervigilance and the other saboteurs were maybe distracting, disrupting, your wish to succeed or your wish to achieve. So maybe, for people who are beating themselves because they are expecting more, and this is where the hyperachiever is kind of not helpful. It's helpful to be high achieving and to expect more and to try. But when it is a hyperachiever, it's mean you are beating yourself down instead of, working your best and, doing your best.
Yeah.
Without the judge being hammering.
And that's the victim that comes in, because being a carer,
Yeah.
and that being the focus of things, of daily living,
Yes.
it makes the whole thing become much more apparent, the pattern of it, actually. If I was focusing purely on my art,
Yeah.
like some people can do if they're in the commercial world, probably, not necessarily, then it doesn't become such an issue. Maybe age comes into it to some extent. Obviously cultural background, because people from different cultures have different opportunities. Maybe, I don't know if that's true or not. In certain areas it's true.
Yeah, well, don't know if you've ever heard of Grandma Moses. She's an American artist who became an artist at the age of 76.
Yeah, I
You
know
know?
it can be done. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there is hope everywhere. And, congratulations for, finishing this, 7-week intensive training. And
Yeah.
you've been like, a great coachee in the way that you committed to the exercises. It wasn't very easy, I know that, to kind of, do it during the day and to commit to it, even if it's not perfect, but at least, you tried your best.
Yeah.
So congratulations. And, it's just the end of the first stage. So I hope now with your increased awareness and your the tools that you gained, using the PQs and the awareness of what is sabotaging, you in some ways, you will be able to, overcome them and progress in your life.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you
That's
so
my
much. And can I ask you, what do you recommend? You recommend this program or this coaching for somebody else? What would you say? Well, if you say in one sentence, what would that help them with if they decided to take it?
it gives you the tools to look deeper in yourself and find your creativity in a much more real sense than you'd expect.
Mhm. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.